Welcome. After a long time, I am going to give a video of explanation of author James Marshall Smith work, that is Ode on the Death of William Butler Yeats. So here we can see that already about W B Yeats, one more author, that is W H Auden, have written about W B Yeats. Now, A.J.M. Smith also has written Ode on the Death of W B Yeats. Today we are going to see about this poem. So, it is a ode. When it starts, it is a ode. We will see whether it is a ode or some other poetic form. A.J.M. Smith. A.J.M. Smith, he was born on 8 November 1902 in Montreal, and he was a well-known of 20th century Canadian poet, and he is an anthologist as well as he is a critic. His full name is author James Marshall Smith. As I told before, A.J. Smith was born on 8 November 1902 in Montreal, and the family lived in England for 2 years during 1918 to 1920. So this is the main part in which are the places A.J.M. Smith studied. He has studied hard for the Cambridge local examination, and after a few times he went and studied in Edinburgh University and McGill University in Montreal. So these are the places where A.J.M. Smith studied, and he received his PhD from the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, and at McGill University Smith edited the McGill Daily Literary Supplement from 1924 to 1925. So the McGill Fortnightly Review, it is also one review in 1925. It was the first journal to publish a modernist poetry and critical opinion in Canada. Who are all has written those things, they will explain. They used to publish. Okay, when as a graduate he had the destination to join along with F.R. Scott of being responsible for the McGill Fortnightly Review. In that review he has taken some responsibility. McGill Montreal in 1921, that is a McGill Fortnightly Review. Collaborated, he worked, it is a well-known independent journal of literature, and it also, that review explains about an independent journal of literature and then the arts and the students' affairs. It is all edited, and it will be a collections. So he started to work there. When after the returning from Montreal, after a few years, 1921 he returned from Montreal. In 1925 only he has started to do that in journal, to write some about a journal. And here we can see that Leo Kennedy, Leonard Eden and A.M. Klein. These are all the writers in McGill group, that is a Montreal group. Montreal group is nothing but he is also one of a poet in a Montreal group, who A.J.M. Smith. Montreal group means it is a circle of Canadian writers who is like a modernist writers like Lionel Edel, and then John Glasgow, A.M. Klein, Leo Kennedy, F.R. Scott and A.J.M. Smith. They are all comes under in a Montreal group. They are all modernist writer, and our A.J. Smith is also belong to that group. In Montreal group, the writers practice the theory of modern poetry, and some other styles they have followed, but it is all about a modernist. It is formed in the middle of 1920s, and it is in a McGill University in Montreal. So in McGill University of Montreal, this modernist writers were explain about the modernism in the modernist technique of style. So they become a what? Modernist writer, and they have attended in McGill their undergraduate. When these qualities are there, we call it as a Montreal group, and the Montreal group is always associated with the little magazines. It is a title of a magazines which published a contemporary innovative techniques of prose and poetry in the style of modernism. And then A.J.M. Smith died in 1980. It is all about A.J. Smith, and these are all the important works of A.J. Smith. News of the Phonics, A Sort of Ecstasy, collected poems, poems new and collected, the classic shade, the Book of Canadian Poetry, a critical and historical anthology, modern Canadian verse towards a view of Canadian literature, on poetry and poets, the Oxford Book of Canadian verse in England and French, and Mass of Fiction, Mass of Poetry. So these are all the works of A.J.M. Smith. Now we are going to see what are the awards was received by A.J.M. Smith. The 1943 Governor General's Award for English Language Poetry or a Drama for his own first collection of poetry, that is a News of Phonics and Other Poems. In 1966, the Royal Society of Canada awarded him its Laurent Perse Medal. On Smith's retirement in 1972, Michigan State University recognized that A.J. Smith Award given annually to the noteworthy volume by a Canadian poet. So this also were suggested by the university. In 1978, Smith's poem The Lonely Land was set to a music by Violet Archer. It has been The Lonely Land. The Lonely Land was set to music by Violet Archer. So it was accompanied by music. So these are all about A.J. Smith. Now we will go to the poem. Ode on the Death of W B Yeats. Ode on the Death of W B Yeats. So it comes in the collection of poem, that is a complete poem, the complete poems part 1. A.J. Smith, the complete poems part 1. It is a collection of book. In that book it is written in 1941. W B Yeats died in 1939. After W B Yeats passed away, A.J. Smith started to write a poem on W B Yeats during the year of 1941. And W B Yeats was a A.J.M. Smith took a master degree dissertation on Yeats. So it is similar to W.H. Auden's poem on Yeats. This poem. Okay, now we are going to see A.J.M. Smith poem. This poem has a 5 section. This poem has 5 section. We will go with the stanza wise. First, stanza 1. An old thorn tree in a stony place, where the mountain stream has ran dry, torn in the black wind under the rays of the Isle Park, Isil's sharp, kaleidoscopic white sky burst into sudden flower. So here in this poem, that is in the first stanza, an old thorn tree in a stony place. So it is described that when we read these lines, it says about some confused, that is a stormy things, which is not a clear one. These are all the situation in this first line. See, it is in the condition in Ireland. So we all know that W B Yeats lived in Ireland. It is a condition of Ireland. An old thorn tree in a stony place. So what? The trees are all torn, and then it is like a stony, it is filled with a stone, the place where the mountain stream has run dry. Mountain streams become very, very dry. It means what? That it is not a pleasant one. It gives something very dull and somber. Torn in the black wind under the rays. So what happened? The torn in the black wind under the rays. So now the black wind were torn under the rays. What rays? Of the sizzling sharp kaleidoscopic white sky. Because now it has changed that black wind into a white sky. That black wind, it all goes, and because of the ice, when we look ice, no, when the ice it drops, when it becomes that snow, when it becomes into ice, it will be like a glittering, it will be like a sharp. In that, kaleidoscopic is nothing but here it is the explanation of changing color and changing pattern. So the white sky, it is changed from that black wind like a somber way. It has changed into a white color. The sky becomes changed into white color. It means what? It means something, a new thing, it's going to come. When the black wind, the black mountain, all the things were in a black. Suddenly it all comes into a white. It's something what? Something good is going to happen. It explains the changes. The kaleidoscopic white burst into sudden flower. It is burst into a sudden flower. Here sudden flower is nothing but the birth of W B Yeats. So W B Yeats was born and he became very, very popular during the time. It burst into a sudden flower. So here it says the black wind, the stony place, the dry mountain stream, it is all rapidly changed when the white sky, that is when the sudden flower, when W B Yeats born. So it says what this paragraph, it gives a symbol of, that is a changes of time and a newborn thing. So, but when the tree bursts into a sudden flower, it is a life-affirming situation. It is nothing but something says into a true. So, these are all, see, in the first stanza, explain about the Yeats when they born. During the time of a confusion state, when Yeats was born. So, these are all the explanation for the first stanza. So, we'll go for the second stanza. Second stanza. Under the central dome of winter and night, a wild swan spreads its fanatic wing. Ancestral energy of blood and power beats in his snowy breast, and now the ravening soul fulfilled his last hour upon him chooses to exalt. So in this paragraph, when in the first line itself we come to know that it says something about a mourning, central dome of winter and night. Central dome, that is a mourning. So it is says the death of Yeats and how he departed from how his soul were departed from his body, that one. Under the central dome of winter and night, so during the time of winter and night, a wild swan spreads his fanatic wing. That is a wild swan. Here, wild swan, how the swan will be, it spreads his wings happily and it will be enthusiastically. Same way here, this white swan is compared to the soul of W B Yeats, which denotes peace, purity and prosperity. Ancestral energy of blood and power. So he is lying. He is lying on the floor. He is lying like a wild swan. It spreads. But in his body, what it runs? The ancestral energy of blood and power. So that blood and power, he could not go away from this world because many things he wanted to achieve in his land, that is Ireland, but he couldn't do his as it is because he is going to die. So ancestor energy of blood and power beats in his snowy breast. In the sense, in his breast, that blood, it will run so fast. If we want to achieve anything, if we think, means it runs fast. And now the ravening soul fulfilled his first last term. But what happened? Now he is going to die. Ravening means that is a hunting. His whole way hunting. What? But it is fulfilled his first last hour. First last hour is nothing but he is going to die. Upon him chooses to exalt. So what happened? He chooses to exalt. He chooses to go away from this body, go away from this soul. So soul is went away from the land. That is, it is transported. It is, the soul is exalt is nothing but here transported from the body, from body of W B Yeats. Okay, now in the third stanza, over the edge of shivering Europe, over the chalk front of Kent, over iron, dwarfing the crawling waves, a moral savagery, daring the hiding clouds, rhetorical tumblet, the white swan plummets the mountain top. So here in the third stanza, that is the third section, it describes how the landscapes were. That is, it was in a difficult situation. So here in the last line, see, the white swan plummet the mountain's top. So when his soul started to fly, it is like a swan, isn't it? When it is started to fly, it couldn't go away from the sky. It cannot go. It stops. Plummet is nothing but a fall suddenly from a high level. Plummet is nothing but a fall suddenly from the high level. When the white swan flies, it suddenly stops on the mountain top. On the mountain top. So why he has started to stop there? Now the swan, it recalls the thing, what all that happens in the rough landscape. That is in edges of shivering Europe, how the European people were shaken, the Ireland, and the chalk front of Kent, in front of Kent, and over Ayr, and all the waves, crawling waves, and the dwarfing and crawling waves, the crawling waves, and a moral savagery. A moral savagery is nothing but the human beings does not have a moral, and they are being very cruel. Savagery means nothing but being a very cruel, and daring the hiding clouds, rhetorical tumblet, that is the hiding clouds. They could not do. Rhetorical means is nothing but it's something says to impress someone, but it is not always. Tumblet is nothing but a confused noise. So these are all the daring the hiding clouds means it hides him. These are all the things which is not a good one. The landscape, it all hides him. That white swan plummets the mountain top. It stops in the mountain, and it all started to recall those things. So in this third stanza, it also recalls the flight of Gannet in the French-Canadian novel Shadow of the Wind by Annie Herbert. Its flight, its headlong plunge, it struggles with the storm or utmost interest. Okay. So it was a comparison given by some other critic. So next, fourth stanza. In fourth stanza, here we can see in the fourth stanza we can see some contrast thing. See, the stream has suddenly pushed the papery leaves. It digs a rustling channel of clear water on the sacred flank of Ben Bulben. The twisted tree is incandescent with flowers. The swamp leaps singing in the cloud air. This is a glory not for an hour. So here the poet says, see, the streamy has suddenly pushed the papery leaves. So it was, now here they are explaining about the landscape and the thing of a landscape and thing which is surrounded in Ireland. The streams become very, very dry. But here they suddenly push the papery leaf, it digs a rustling channel of clear water. So the streams is filled with what? With water, with clear water. When the clear water passes to the stream, the waste leaf, the papery, the dry leaves, it will push, the river will push the leaves. It digs a rustling channel of clear water on the sacred flank of Ben Bulbun. See, on the sacred flank is nothing but the river passes by the flank is nothing but a side. On the sacred flank, Ben Bulbun is one of the mountain in Ireland. On the top, it will be like a it will not have a sharpened, it is a flattened one. The top of the mountain will be the flattened one, Ben Bulbun mountain. So near to the side of the mountain, the river passes, and all the twisted trees is nothing but, we will have a straight tree. When will be the twisted tree? The thorn trees were the twisted, and it is incandescent with flower. Incandescent means it is glowing. It is glowing with the white flowers. It glowing with the different types of flowers. The swan leaps singing into the cold air. It started to leap and it is started to sing in the cold air. It shows the fourth stanza. It shows the how the climate, how the changes happen in that state, in that country, in the place. So the swan leaps singing to the cold air. This is a glory not for an hour. So now what? Not for an hour. So it started to go. The swan, the soul, it celebrates. It started to go away from this place. But it is not for an hour, but this is a glory, because here the poet says that the soul have attained immortality. The soul attained immortality. Not for an hour the soul runs. It runs afar. It runs away to the immortality. So here the poet explains how the contrast life, how the life way changes. So it is very, very a gratifying thing. It is not for an hour, but it is celebrates the soul having attained immortality. Next, at last we have fifth stanza. Here the fifth stanza, it continues to the rejoicing. So over the Galway shore, that white bird is flying forever and crying. So the swan, it runs, it cries. In which other place? Galway shore. In all other places, the white bird is flying forever and it is crying with the tongueless tongue. It's nothing but to the tongueless tongue. Tongueless tongue means when the soul passes, tongueless means a excited state. The people, tongue is nothing but a crowd of a people in the excitement states. They are all crying. The white bird is flying forever. So of the sky is cold and passionate song. So it is all goes away from the land. It goes. So its singing is cold and passionate song. The swan, it started to of the sky. It started to sing. See, it is a very, very interesting poem by A.J. Smith. How the soul is thinking. Now he himself realized. A.J. Smith stands in the position of W B Yeats, and he himself says that how W B Yeats were thinking when he goes away from the country, and when he born, what are the happens, when he died, what are the things that happen, and what are the landscape were faced by the Ireland, and what are the changes. So these are all the things were explained in this poem, and it is very, very great poem, and how the people and how it was colonized because of the many people. The landscape have changed and many things were happened. At last, how the soul were awaited till it gets changes in the Ireland. After it gets changes, the soul went happily to attain immortality. So if you like this video, kindly give a like and share and subscribe my channel and share to your friends to read this poem. Comment if you want any other explanation. Thank you all.